Welcome to the Saturday Night Live Afterparty. This week, we'll be discussing Season 46, Episode 20 of SNL with host Anya Taylor-Joy and musical guest Lil Nas X. I'm Catherine Coleman, and I'm joined this week by Steve Finn and Charlotte O'Trimba. If you'd like to connect with any of us, you can do so at snlpodcast.com. Enjoy these selected highlights from this week's discussion. And if you'd like to watch our full-length, ad-free sketch-by-sketch review, you can find it exclusively on Patreon and Subscribestar/SNL Podcast. It's our supporters that make this show possible, and we are so thankful to everyone who's already come on board. All right, here we go. So the season finale of season 46. I can't believe we're finally here. Can y'all?
Oh,
No.
It's been such a ride. Holy jumpins. And here we are at the end of it. I can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, it feels like it feels like it flew by, but it also feels like it was 6 years long. Like it is both of those things.
Yeah, it definitely was two very different times. You know, the heavy, deep depths of COVID times. And then two, we can sort of taste a post-COVID life. So we went through it all.
Yeah, and there were kind of two distinct parts of the season. There was like election and then like the fun second half of the season. But before we get too far into analyzing the full season, we got a whole finale we have to cover. So, are y'all ready to get into it?
We got a whole finale. Let's do it.
All right. Bill Cosby is just the first of many problematic bookings on this episode of Hollywood Squares from 1998. This was a fun little retro game night, which is our second retro game night of the season. And Charlotte, how'd you feel?
Yeah, I thought this was fun. It was kind of light, kind of made you nostalgic for the 90s. It was fun. I don't know. I'd be curious to hear what you guys think. I felt like Bill Cosby should have been last.
Maybe.
I think he was like the worst of the crew there.
True.
Of everybody they cut out, I feel like it would have gotten more laughs with Bill if he was last because they had there were the most comments about him, like how Baby Spice says this whole line, this whole like speech about how great, and everybody's like, "You're so great." So,
he's like the most heightened example of like omitting someone, but at the same time, he's also the clearest example. So it was probably an easier end than starting with like Jeff Dunham.
That's true. Yeah. We immediately knew what the game was once we started with Bill. But yeah, I guess that would be my only thing. And so then while it's funny that everybody keeps getting eliminated, you do miss those joke lines.
Right.
Like you're like waiting for like all these amazing writers in there. And then like, everybody's gone. So so it was really funny and I loved the game. I felt like maybe it needed like one more big punch of heightening, or I just was craving some more lines.
Yeah. I feel like I wish they would have found a second gear to not just omitting them, but maybe they substitute someone else in. I don't know. But because that's fun, and I was enjoying every time they omitted someone, and they did change it up a little bit. But a new level would have been really nice. But I enjoyed this for the sake of the commentary because I like doing the retro game shows. And this is a very different take on the retro game show that we saw earlier this season. But both of them have this in common that we're looking at 80s and 90s through this current day lens. And how are we going to see this now? And I think that's really, really fun. And obviously there's this cultural thing of, man, it's really starting to feel like everyone's a monster. Yeah. No one's safe. So, what is going to be left to watch from the 90s by the time we're done?
I agree. That is such great commentary. I think it was sending that message as well. So
yeah. So I think this is good. And I'm excited for retro game show network to be a recurring thing. I want to see all the different ways that they can go with this, because I think there are plenty more ways to look at it and ways to use that lens and to have really, really fun stuff. So I'm a fan. Steve, did you enjoy it?
Oh, of course. You know, I grew up in the 90s. I love the 90s. You got to give props to the costume department,
Mhm.
and you got to give costumes to the props department.
Waka waka.
You make that joke every time, and I love it every time.
The sketch I thought was great. You know, it was a funny thing to, you know, have to view older content through a more progressive lens from present times. You know, there's fun ways that they can break apart. I think they found a great way to do that. I questioned some of the pacing choices they made. There was a shot before pretty much anything got started that showed like every single celebrity on the celebrity square, and I was like, huh, okay, I just saw
Gave
Bill
away the
Cosby.
joke a little bit.
Yeah, I just saw Bill Cosby in the middle. I just saw, okay, there's Jared Fogle. It is a chance for you to see Roseanne, who does not get mentioned in the sketch, but she's there as one of the celebrities as well. But like, it kind of gave it away. And when they hard cut to Bill Cosby, I had already seen him. So that, you know, laugh for me at home for being like, oh, it's Bill Cosby. That might have been, you know, a little bit more punchier. So it didn't seem like it was a mistake. It seemed like a deliberate cut to the square. So yeah, that leaves me with questions.
Yeah, because I mean, that's how. Because there's this thing that it's tricky when you're doing sketch, especially a parody, because you want it to be as close to the real thing as possible.
Right.
And I think that exact situation is where it's hard, because that's how the real show opens. You see the squares. But sometimes you have to say, for the sake of the joke, we're going to intentionally make it a little bit less like the original thing.
Damn, Catherine. You are probably right.
She right.
Yeah.
She right.
You know, I do my best. But
So smart.
that is, luckily I was far enough away from my television that I only made out Bill Cosby, and I could not see anybody else because I'm blind.
Second time I watched it, I definitely paused so I could see all.
Another fun little thing is when at the end, when it cuts back and they're all blurred out, the full square wasn't blurred, so you could see them sneaking off set behind the blurred part, which was just a fun little
Totes.
thing to pick up.
Yeah, it looked like a little SNL ant farm.
All right. Well, Hollywood Squares, hits and misses, but I think overall, fun enough. So let's keep going. Dad ruins prom when he blows off his little with his big gun. I loved this. Steve, did you enjoy it?
Of course I enjoyed it.
What's not to enjoy?
Well, as a man, I can tell you, there's something called empathy pain. So
Well, technically sympathy pain, right? Because I assume you have never shot your dick off.
no,
Which would be
no,
empathy pain.
Fingers crossed.
never.
This is
So
Steve's way of telling us some bad news.
That was a long pause, Steve.
yeah.
Something
just
you want to tell the viewers at home?
I'm just gonna slide this box of bits to the side.
Anyway,
Did you love the cinematography of this? It was so well shot with like this beautiful lens distortion that gave it that like, oh my god, I'm going to prom, like dream come true aesthetic.
Yeah, and the lighting was really selling that as well.
Yeah, beautiful lenses and beautiful flare coming through the window. The whole thing just was like really well done.
Yeah. Shout out to Paul Briganti directed it. So
yeah, beautiful shots, and I just love that. And SNL is so good at selling these moments visually one way, and then content wise selling you something different. And
Mhm.
that disagreement in your head, getting both streams, is like it just forces you to laugh hard
Mhm.
because this is the only way to compute it. So like
Right.
this touching, tender moment that's been sprayed with blood and bits have it's some of the most brilliant stuff I've ever seen.
Yeah. I also loved it. I thought this was a big standout. Like you said, directed beautifully. We've called out Paul Berganti, I think, on almost every episode this season. He's doing incredible work. Seems like a real
He
nice
is not
guy.
he is not paying us, we
He
swear.
is not.
Yeah. But listen, we'd love to work with you,
But
Paul.
listen, Paul, if you ever want to be here. No, and then this is actually written by Andrew Dismukes. We know he was a writer for a few seasons before he became a cast member, and that guy is just so funny, and he's so good at tapping in. He's from, I think he might be originally from Louisiana, but he grew up in Texas. Could be wrong. Definitely Southern, Western, Midwestern guy, and is really, really good at tapping into those tropes. Like dad with a shotgun. I'm familiar. I've seen this before. um, and that is just so funny and such a great direction to take it. And my favorite part of this was all of the back and forth and the repetition that could have so easily gotten old, but was funny every time. Like, just don't have sex. We're going to, but okay.
But we
No,
will.
no, don't. Okay, but we will though. And I mean, they did that for a solid minute, which is a really long
Yes.
time in a sketch. So I thought this was amazing, and everyone was flawless in their roles. Like Beck's the perfect stupid dad. 80s plays a great mom. Heidi and Andrew sold being teenagers perfectly. I loved every part of this.
Yeah.
I mean, this was my favorite sketch of the night by far. It was hilarious. I watched it 3 times, made my boyfriend watch it 2 more times with me. I was like, this is the sketch.
This is the one.
This is the one. I would agree with you with the writing. So good, but I also think to your point, Beck just goes to like 150 and it's just so funny in the hospital bed. Like, oh, but you're gonna try really hard, right? Like, it's like that perfect mix of like the dad who's used to everything working out because he's gonna do it his way and it's gonna work out all the way to the end. And then I also thought, as the teenagers, Andrew, I mean, the fact that he wrote it and then acted in it so well as playing kind of like the douchey teenage son, who has like the girlfriend that he's having sex with all the time. I don't know. I just thought the whole thing worked so well. And then showing the cooler.
It was blurred out, right?
It was blurred out. It was rough.
Yeah.
But then props to Anya for, her reactions, her response to saying, no, we're not gonna be able to do anything with that. Oh my God, so funny. Just
I
so
love-
good.
Yeah. I love it because, they're making fun of it because everybody considers it, well, not everybody, but many consider it a very tacky move, to make this
Right.
joke. And it's so brilliant to just have someone who thinks that's funny trying to explain why that's funny.
Yes.
But in the
Because it's
urgency of the
weird.
situation where they're like
Right.
bleeding out there where what one thing once was, yeah, it's a very funny situation.
This was pretty near perfect in my book. So
I agree.
all right, well, let's talk about Judge Janine Pirro does things her way. And by her way, I mean literally swimming in wine. What
That's
an
a way.
ending. Steve, did you like it?
Oh man, I love this. It's like she was going to do it for the last time. That might be
Mhm.
part of why you're feeling that way, because it felt like she was like savoring the moment of playing Janine Pirro. Just
Yeah, it felt like a send-off.
yeah, there was just like it's always great, but there was so much care this time around, and so much oomph that felt so effortless. Like she's always pulling it off, but like this time she almost it was just coming from her diaphragm, like she was Janine Pirro or something. It was amazing to see. And she must have practiced with that wine glass because I don't think she missed a shot at Jost.
No, she
It
didn't.
was amazing. Che, dry as a bone.
Yeah.
Jost
Just without
drenched
even
every
looking.
single shot.
Incredible.
Yeah, without looking. That
Incredible
was
aim.
yeah. But hey, let's just applaud them for going all out with the big box of wine and having her
Yes.
just like basically not be able to be in the show anymore by being drenched in a red fluid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such
She
a fun
committed.
time. This was a highlight. And she committed.
She
She did.
committed, and it made this. This was the best Janine Pirro appearance, and I love all of them, and I love how they've heightened. You know, she started out like spitting wine on him, and then she like threw it up on him, and now she's just sloshing it and getting into a whole thing. Like I think this was amazing, and Cecily gave
Yeah.
it her all. When she went fully underwater, I lost my mind. I thought, hold on, is she just gonna disappear? Is she not gonna come back up?
You
Because that
okay
would
down
be-
there?
I just loved this was perfect. I loved
Yeah.
everything about it. I thought it was phenomenal, and Cecily was amazing. And if this is a send-off, it's a good one to go out on.
It's certainly a
agree.
crescendo. I don't know how it can get
Mhm.
any bigger. Like I was almost distracted by the wine glass that I, might have missed a line or two just because I was
Mhm.
watching that thing swing around. So much
Yeah.
just chaos.
Definitely.
She
So
was
Charlotte, big win.
big win. Agree with everything you all have said. I mean, she nails the impression already. She's such an amazing impressionist and has turned it into her own character. And yeah, if I don't know who wrote it, if she did or this how they decided to choose the song. And I mean, it was perfect. So well done. I loved it. I loved it. And if it's her final, it was an amazing final.
If you want to see our full sketch by sketch review, search for SNL Afterparty on Patreon or subscribestar.com. So let's talk about our overall ratings. First up is Moment of the Night. Charlotte, what is it?
Cecily Strong, I did it my way.
Which
It
part
is.
of it?
The final like dunk in the big box of wine. Or just one of the other tosses back at Joe's.
Yeah.
Because those were spot on. Like you guys said, that aim was unreal.
Mhm.
But yeah.
I'm going to go with the final dunk as well. Like, when she started to sink down, I thought, there's no way she's going all the way under. And then she did it.
Girl did it.
Talk about heightening. She went all the way under the wine. And I loved it. That really, really cracked me up. And I was thrilled. Steve, what's your moment?
My moment was the little portion of the shotgun to the genitals sketch where he's trying to convince them not to have sex out of respect for his condition. And their sorry, not sorry response of we'll do it, but we won't do it.
Right.
Like it was almost surreal. First of all, the amount of times it's repeated, but being that honest while trying to sound like you're going to do it. It's just a weird way to say no to someone.
Right.
As if you're
We're
like,
going to, but okay.
you're saying no.
Saying no with a smile.
You're delivering no as a yes, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we will.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Great moment.
Yeah, that was a good one. Let's talk about best sketch. Charlotte?
Prom photo.
Period.
Oh,
The end.
Okay.
Yeah, do I need to say more? I mean, we already talked about it.
That's true. We have talked about it pretty extensively. It's really good. I'm actually torn between Prom Photo and Janine Pirro. And I know Steve, you sometimes don't like to give it to a update feature. This was a pretty involved update feature, though.
It had blocking. It had props.
It did. It did.
Yeah, a hell of a lot of props.
I'm really torn. I'm really, really, truly torn. Let's go with Prom because it is a true sketch by the classical definition, and it's really, really good. And I think will be very, very rewatchable for years to come and still be relevant.
Agree.
So yeah, that near perfect sketch. So
Agree.
Prom it is. Steve, are you gonna make it unanimous?
No.
Nope, you're gonna go with the other one. I know what
the
it is.
Movie.
Oh, I thought you were gonna go with the Celtic women.
Celtic.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Celtic.
Sorry.
Curse that basketball team for ruining the pronunciation forever. I'll never forgive them.
But nonetheless, it is the movies.
The movies. Absolutely. I liked that it was too long.
Okay.
I liked that it was just undeserving of the screen time that it somehow conned its way into. Something to do with, I guess, undershooting the show and saying we need to stretch the VIN.
Maybe.
Maybe.
It made it better. And to put it as the last bit of the finale of the show, there's everything perfect about this.
It's also interesting that it was so long and it's the 10-1, which usually gets chopped up a good bit. So, all right. Well, the movies it is. Let's talk about MVP. Who are you giving it to, Charlotte?
I really struggled with this. I might go with Beck.
Mm-hmm. That's a good
Just because it's like multiple, like there are definitely others that crushed in their sketch, but he crushed in multiple sketches, like really did. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it to Beck. I'm going Beck.
I think that's a fair pick. You know, he was the lead in the Prom one. He led the movies. He was in the Bra one.
Yeah.
And
was great in all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And very distinct characters.
Yeah. I considered Beck as well. And then, but I ultimately am torn between 80 and Cecily.
I had both of those down too. I wish I could show you my notebook. Yeah.
Because 80 was all over the place.
Yeah.
She was great as the mom in the Prom sketch. She was a good angel in the Heaven one. Of course, in Celtic Women. Then we had leading the Bra sketch, the NYU panel. I mean, she was really, really heavy in the show and doing great work.
Yeah.
And then you have Cecily, who made the play. You know, she wasn't in that much other stuff. But that Janine Pirro bit was so good. Yeah, I'm going to give it to Cecily. It's got to be Cecily.
Give it to her.
Yeah, I mean, a performance to die for. So she deserves it. She earned it big time. Steve, who's it going to be?
Well, I got good news for you folks, because I think the top three are going to get recognition, because I'm going with Little Baby 80.
Woo! Little Baby 80. Woo, 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 woo.
I want to pick both Beck and Cecily at the same time because of how great the performances they did were. But 80 just had so much to do. And she was my favorite part of the cold open. I think her jokes were the best. I loved how she delivered them. The holding the breath for 10 seconds was a great line. And yeah, we just got her running the show so often with the brar and the NYU and just so much presence from her. And yeah, I just really liked what she gave me while she was out there. So, hey, I could give it to the two that you one of the two that you guys did, but why do that when we can honor all three? I think the three top performers of the night.
Yeah.
Woo.
I'm glad that we all landed somewhere different. Like we all agreed that those were the three picks, but we all voted different ways. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
That's
Love that.
beautiful, man.
Okay, the big one. On a scale of classic, great, decent, weak, or train wreck, Charlotte, how would you rate this episode?
Okay, so I know you guys get annoyed because I always am very kind in my rankings. But I
not
will
annoyed.
say, considering I usually don't like the cold open, just gonna be honest, I really loved the cold open this week.
Mm-hmm.
There were a few dud sketches, but nothing that bad. Thought the musical guest worked. I liked Anya, didn't love Anya as a host, not in life.
As a person.
As a person. I was kind of between decent or great, but I think because of those really great finale moments, like the joke swap, the Janine Pirro, I loved the movies, and I loved prom photo. I'm gonna give it a great.
Yeah, I think this is a solid great.
Mhm.
It definitely gets above decent in my book because it has really only one sketch that I didn't like.
Mhm.
And then everything else, was maybe it was high end of middle of the road, or I really loved it. But everything worked, and everybody delivered great performances. A cold open I actually really loved. Strong update, fantastic features on update, and just a really good finale. It's
Mhm.
not a classic because there were a few misses. It wasn't an iconic episode, but I thought it was really, really great, and I'm happy to land on a great for the finale after a couple decents. So that's where we are. Steve, where you landed? Classic, or
I'm
is
gonna
that
give
a
it a
C?
classic.
Oh,
Whoa.
wow. Okay.
I do want to give it a classic. I loved how sweet and beautiful that cold open was. I loved how great some of these sketches were. I loved how absurd some were. I loved how clever some were. I loved the performances of all my favorite cast members. I loved the performance of this first time host that freaking killed it. The musical guest was provocative and fun, and uh, was basically a big headline of the year, just to give this kind of a timestamp for the
Yeah.
classic ages.
Mhm.
Joke swap. Holy crap! What don't we have? We got Kate crying. We got people saying they're gonna leave in so many words. There's so much juice. I could go on, but I feel like after the whole year we had and the way they capped it off, the season that's going to represent that, uh, yeah, this is going to be one for the ages.
That's fair. Now I feel bad about it. It was definitely a really good episode, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they definitely went out of season 46 with a bang,
Mhm.
and
Yeah, you don't feel bad. You feel great about it. I just
do
feel
feel-
classic. That's,
yeah,
Nailed it.
I'm thrilled with this. I'm intrigued to see what comes next. If we're going into a sort of a rebuilding phase, there's definitely no closure on that, but I think they really capped this season off with a lot of great energy, great sketches, and in a great way. And I'm sad to see it go. Well, that's a wrap. Thanks to Charlotte O'Trimba and Steve Finn. And thanks as well to our most generous patrons, Sam Bowers, Neil Weinstein, Justin Gardner, Grace Kogan, and Brian Clark. If you're enjoying our show, please subscribe on YouTube or wherever better podcasts can be found. Your subscription helps us grow, and your support is greatly appreciated. We'll be back soon for our post-season 46 extravaganza, but until then, this has been episode number 138 of the Saturday Night Live After Afterparty podcast. I'm Katherine Coleman. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.